Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Anuj, an aspiring graduate student, and I have applied to a few US universities. I would be talking more about that in my upcoming videos. Today I'm gonna continue in my series of MS applications in US videos. I have made one on statement of purpose. I would put a link in description or somewhere here. And today I'm gonna talk about another important thing in your application, that is your LORs or letter of recommendations. So let's get started. So letter of recommendation. The reason why I feel that letter of recommendation and statement of purpose are really important part of your application is because as I've mentioned before in my video on statement of purpose, I believe that these are the things where you have some control with respect to your application materials. So SOP is like a clean slate that you have, and in case of letter of recommendation, it's like someone is out there who has good amount of experience in academics or in professional life, and they are ready to put in a good word for you. So that says a lot about you if they can send across a message which is strong enough to suggest that you would be a good fit for that program and that university. So because of this very simple reason, I believe that if you get these two things right, it's like job half done. So it's really important for you to understand that whoever you are contacting to get this letter of recommendation should be able to put a very strong word for you, and that should help you eventually in getting that admit that you are chasing. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what are the steps that you need to follow in the process of getting a letter of recommendation from your professor, till the point when you are applying to a certain university. How do you send out the request for recommendations? What are the things that you have to take care of, keep in mind, and how to make sure that the letter of recommendation that you are sending is a good one. Now you won't have a full control over what goes inside the letter of recommendation because it is being written by someone else for you, but I would be talking about what could be a good letter of recommendation, like what are the elements that I believe would comprise of a good letter of recommendation. So if these things are present in one letter of recommendation, I would say that it's a very strong message that this person wants to send across. So continuing on this, I would say that one of the most important thing with respect to your letter of recommendation is thinking about the timeline, because there are a lot of external factors which are in place, and you don't have a full control on all of these things. For example, say if you are talking or you are reaching out to a professor of yours, right? It depends totally on them when they find time to write the letter of recommendation for you and when they are available to upload that for you. So in this case, I wouldn't recommend you to start late. My suggestion would be to start as early as possible. Try to finalize which professor you're gonna go with, and make sure that the person who is gonna write your letter of recommendation is the one who is going to put a really good word for you, and they have the credentials to do that. So some cases what I've seen is that people go to their HODs and they've never worked with them before. So in that case, what happens is they might write a good letter of recommendation for you, but the organicness of that letter, right, it goes away. So what you want from your recommender is that they are able to comment on your skills, your ability to work in different kind of settings, maybe in team environment, or ability to work on assignments individually. So all these things should be taken care of, and you need to make sure that the person you're asking for that recommendation should be able to comment on those capability of yours and has the credential to do so. Now I'll talk about what are elements of a good letter of recommendation. Now there's nothing you can do to change what that recommender is gonna write for you, but it's also important for you to understand what kind of recommendation letter is a good one. Now, as I said before, you need to start as early as possible. Now you have finalized the professors or the professionals that you're gonna ask for that letter of recommendation. You reach out to them, maybe through mail or in person. You tell them that you are interested in applying for higher studies abroad, and this is the part of application where you would need their help, and see if they would be interested in writing you a letter of recommendation. And if they agree for the same, you should tell them about all the universities that you're planning to apply for and the deadlines for each one of them, so they are well prepared from their end to make that commitment that they would be able to do this for you. So keeping that in mind, once you have decided and talk to that professor or person or maybe your manager or your teammate who's gonna recommend you, next thing would be to check with them by when they would be able to give you that recommendation. And once you are done with all of that, you would start with your application. Say I'm applying to University XYZ. Okay, I would go to their portal, and there are various steps in that application, starting from filling in your personal information, uploading your resume, your statement of purpose, sending out your official GRE or TOEFL or IELTS scores. So all these things, and then you would have a section where you have to specify who is going to recommend you. Now, most of the universities will ask you for 2 to 3 recommenders. Now, there are 2 cases with respect to your work experience which I would like to talk about. If you are an experienced professional, say you have an experience of 3 to 4 years, I would recommend that you go with 2 recommendations from your managers or someone that you have worked with, and 1 recommendation from your professor, because it's been quite a lot of time that you have passed out from your college, right? And it's highly unlikely that the professors that you studied under or worked with would not remember every single detail about you. So it's better if you get a letter of recommendation from someone who knows you very well and has a recent memory of their work experience with you. For the other section where you have very little work experience or you are fresh graduate from college, I would recommend you go with all the recommendations from your professors, or in worst case, if you have an internship, maybe you can go with 2 professors and 1 professional letter of recommendation. Now, coming on to the second part, which is a really important thing, because I have seen a lot of people making a mistake over there. That is, there is a very small checkbox that you see whenever you fill in the information for every recommender. It'll ask you whether you waive your right to view whatever that recommender uploads on your behalf or not. Now, the question is whether or not you should check that box. My advice would be to do so, because when you waive your right to view the recommendation, the LOR that person is going to upload, you are suggesting to the university that you have complete faith on that recommender and you know that they are going to put in a good word for you. And secondly, that university can be sure about the authenticity of that letter. They can be sure that there is not going to be any bias, because if you think from university's perspective, they would feel that if you are willing to see the recommendation, the letter that your recommender is going to upload, then it shows a level of distrust between you two, and they would think that your recommender would not be fully comfortable with giving 100% real judgment of or real assessment that they have of you. So it's really important that you make sure that if you are not checking that box, there is a very solid reason for that. But in an ideal case, I would say that you should always waive your right. You should never try to see what your recommender is going to upload on your behalf. What you can do and what you should do in this case is try to pick someone that you trust 100% and you know that they're going to put a strong recommendation for you. So when I say that, there are different elements to your letter of recommendation, and if each one of them is hit correctly, then you can say that it's a really strong letter of recommendation. So the first one is definitely the introduction part, and I feel this introduction is pretty straightforward. It's a pretty standard one where I've seen that professors or even working professionals, they just introduce themselves and they establish the credential that they have. They would talk about their own experience and how long they have known you to be able to comment on your skills and your abilities. So the introduction is pretty standard, and the next part would be talking about you. So in a good letter of recommendation, your recommender would probably be talking about some experiences that they had with you, because it's really important to make sure that the person who is recommending you has worked with you and is able to talk about whatever things you did during your time together, right? So it could be possible that you have reached out to a professor who maybe did not guide you in a project or something, but you took a course under them and you are facing some difficulties and you came out with flying colors. So they can talk about it and they can tell the university how you are resilient in the face of adversity, and how they believe that if they admit you, you would be a really good addition to their program. Similarly, if they have guided you in a project, they can talk about what that project was and if they felt that there was any difficulty about it, or there is any anecdote where they saw or they felt that you're not going to be able to complete that project on time, and eventually you did, such anecdotes add a lot of value to your letter of recommendation. So establishing that this person who you are recommending through an example, and talking about what all skills that you gained through that makes a very strong letter of recommendation. Now if your recommender is able to talk about your soft skills, your ability to work in a team environment, how you collaborate with others and cooperate with others, and at the same time how you are able to take care of tasks individually, they should be able to comment on your soft skills like your empathy, your communication, and the things which ensure that when you go to a master's program, it's not just the technical skills, but as a person, you are going to do really well in that program. So if your recommender is able to comment on these things, then I think it's a really strong letter of recommendation that you have. So when you talk to your professor or your manager, you can request them to talk about these things. You can request them to talk about some anecdotes that they have. You can remind them of some project that you did under them, right? Because it's highly likely that your professors might not remember you. So when you're reaching out to them, it's your job to remind them who you are, what all things that you learned under them, and if there is anything specific that you would want them to talk about. Now you cannot tell them to write anything specific about you, as in you shouldn't tell them to write something really positive on these lines, but you can say that it would be really helpful if they can comment on some of the positives that you feel that are there about you. So with that, I would conclude my video on letter of recommendation. I know there are still a few things which I might have missed out on, but all in all, I've tried to cover the major things that should be there on your letter of recommendation, and you should take care of these things. For example, that checkbox to waive your right to view recommendation. So with that, I would take a leave, and I would be making more videos on your MS applications for United States. So stay tuned to this channel for that space, and till then, goodbye, take care, see you soon.